Hey,
Hey Mark, sorry, I
it
finally
works. It
found the
works. We're back in the game. Oh, hold up. I don't want to play that again. There we go. Right. Back in the game. So, welcome,
okay.
Noel. Thank you very much for joining, mate. Really, really appreciate it. Obviously, spending your time doing this. So, I just did a bit of an introduction on the previous live. So, what I've said about doing, I've got a bit of biscuit in my beard there. That's the joys of a long beard. Is I think we start with you and just talk a little bit about Calibre Wings, where you sort of started it from, a little bit about its sort of way of thinking and stuff like that. So yeah, just a bit of an introduction to the brand, really. I think it's good for anybody who's not familiar with the brand, what you are about.
Okay. You're coming across a little bit breaky. Am I okay? Is my
Yeah, you're
audio
fine. You're
okay?
absolutely fine. Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely
Okay.
fine.
All right. So yeah. So Caliber Wings um, originated actually. It's a sub division of Caliber Toys. So when I first came out on my own in 2014, we actually had the brand Caliber Toys. So Caliber Toys was involved in licensing properties such as Transformers, making novelty items and collectible statues. However, this space that deals with these collectibles is very competitive with the big boys who have lots of money to spend, for R&D and stuff like that. So um, I fell back to what I was doing when I was a little boy, in my teens, when I started my first FX model. If I'm not mistaken, it is actually a 1/72nd scale F-16A plus Fighting Falcon. Actually, no. My first model is actually a LS1 is the 144 scale F-14 Joy Rogers, actually. Yeah.
Why does that
So
not surprise me?
so I fell back onto my roots, and I thought that at the time when I looked at the how should I say it, the scene for diecast military aircraft, I found that there's a lot of space to be filled. So that's when I shifted focus. Instead of doing collectible figures like your Marvel Avengers and your Transformers and stuff like that, I shifted back to military models, and that's where Caliber Wings actually took off.
Okay, cool. That's a good sort of basis of understanding where you come from. So basically, what you're trying to say, and it makes me feel better, is you're a big kid at heart.
I'm sorry?
I said, to make me feel better, you're saying you're a big kid still at heart, yeah?
Yeah, I think my mom says I need to grow up at 42.
Well, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that, mate. There's nothing wrong with that. So what we do, we're going to dive into some of the questions. It's okay.
Okay.
Is the connection okay still?
You're coming across a little bit fuzzy, but I think I can make it out.
Okay, cool, cool. So we'll start on Facebook with some of the
Okay.
questions from
Okay.
Facebook, and then we'll get to Instagram. So the first
Okay.
one is from a very handsome young man called Mark from Essex. Um, could you consider making any World War II or post-war aircraft? And I've really put on there, we really need a Tiger Cat in 172.
Okay. World War II is also something that I have a little bit of passion for, although not as much as the modern jets. Are you hearing me, Mike? Mark? You're like frozen up.
Yeah. No, so I can still see, I can still hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, do you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, I
So
can hear you.
so
Okay, yeah.
yeah, I hear you. Okay. So
That's good.
I really love the P-51 Mustang when I was doing modeling. Uh, the the sheen of the bare metal just catches my eye. The fact that the propeller on a model kit, actually we don't glue it dead. We make the propeller movable. Okay, so but on 72 scale, I believe that it's a little bit small, and I think that most collectors like to see their World War II propeller planes in 148. I'm not too sure. So we'll see. You know, it's a conundrum between 72 and 48 because I want to keep things at 72, so I can build a whole ecosystem around it. But at the same time, I feel that on 72 scale, you can't really see as much for the World War II, you know, planes. I noticed you have got the Spitfire thing going there. So
Ben Sherman.
So
ben
yeah,
Sherman.
yeah. So yeah, the Spitfire is a pretty awesome jet back in the day, huh?
It certainly was. It's why I love aircraft. The Spitfire, just whether it's the sound of the Merlin or the sound of the Griffin, it's still, even now, get the hairs on the back of your neck stand on end if you hear it. If I'm in the house and I can hear one from miles away, I'm at the door waiting for it. But you know, I just love World War II. In terms of that's a good. Someone's just asked another question. I'm jotting the questions down as we go.
Okay. Okay.
Rob Forrest. So I've got a couple of other questions for you at the end. But no, that's a really good answer. But I think 172. I'm a 172 fan. I don't like mixing the scales too much. I don't know. I have to have a shelf of either one scale or the other. I can't mix them. But each to their own. Everybody displays them in a different way. But no, that's brilliant. Thanks for that. So I've got a couple of other questions from the guys who run the site, and then I'll get into the people on Facebook. So
okay.
Gary, who helps run the page, this come up quite a lot. What are the chances of making a B2 stealth bomber, and also a U2 and a B1B? That was the other one that came up quite a bit.
Okay, B2 in 172, are you sure?
Well, he's asked the question.
So
it's not quite
okay,
as bad
so
as a B-52.
Right. I guess the thing here is that collectors may not know the intricacies of die-cast metal itself, because although we like things to be in die-cast, when things get really big, that's when die-cast becomes a deadly weapon if it drops on your head.
Yeah,
right. So
absolutely.
I've seen some pretty big die-casts, and I feel that it actually defeats the purpose when something goes that big and it is still in die-cast. So if something were to be big, I feel that there has to be a balance of mixed materials, meaning that there has to
like
be
the Colgi Vulcan.
Yeah.
That was a discussion this morning on the Facebook page around the plastic. Yeah.
Okay. So for me personally, I don't think a B2 in 72 is something that we would consider doing, because of the fact that we have to really think about how we're going to make it happen in terms of keeping it as die-casty as possible, while not making it into a boomerang of a lethal weapon. So yeah, so the B2, I think it's unless something really happens, you know, I don't see it. I could probably do it in a smaller scale, because I am seriously looking at the Antonov AN, you know, the 6-engine beast, but not on 72 scale, of course. You know, it has to be something.
That would be this wide, maybe.
Yeah. So
2 meters wide.
Yeah. So for the big boys, the really big boys, we have to think about a nice scale for them that complements the range. I'm still working on it. However, the U2 is kind of funny, because I was getting messages from some people on Instagram, from a Japanese actually, sending me U2 renditions and drawings of pilots. I'm not exactly sure if that is his own drawing, or is it actually real stuff that he's trying to convey to me, because the communication wasn't really clear. But we are actually doing the U2.
Oh,
yeah,
intriguing.
But we don't want to.
That's
we don't want to let too much things out, because there is still a bit of a reservation that we are not able to, you know, keep up with our pace. But yeah, we are actually making the U2. So that will be the next announcement when it's announced officially.
Fantastic. That's great. And obviously with Fairford in RF Fairford in Britain, we get quite a lot of visits from the U2. It's well loved. There's different variants. Obviously the one with the large dome on the top as well. That was here last week. So there's obviously different variants. I think there's a NASA version as well, isn't there? So there's all different types. So there's lots of legs for that scout, lots of legs for that mould. But that's fantastic news. A little bit of an exclusive as well there for the page. So thanks for that, Noel. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Also, Gary also asked another question. We know we've got the F-16 on its way, and you updated everybody on your video on YouTube, which I'll link to this later on.
Okay,
are there any other plans to do more US jets after the F-16?
So this question is something that we have to really consider very carefully, because we have mixed response. On one hand, we have a group that says, don't do the same thing over and over again, right? We already have all these things, so why don't you make something that's not done before? But on the other hand, we have people that say, hey, can you please make something of what we want that is currently not available as accurately as it can be? So my view is this: if something that is not done, there has to be reasons why it's not being done. Most probably because it doesn't have enough liveries to support the tooling. Okay.
Absolutely.
So that is one consideration, because after all, it is a business, right? We have to make sure that we make the bank sheets balance up. So I am actually keen to do something to further perfect what's available for some USAF subjects. So I'll just leave it like that. Yeah.
Cool. That's brilliant. No, thanks, mate. On to some of the guys off the Facebook page now. Some quite well-known figures around the Diecast circle. So I've got Christian. Okay. I've got Christian Oakley. He's really keen to know. Yeah, he's really keen to know more detail about the B-58 Hustler and where you're currently at with this. And obviously, if you've watched your video you uploaded this morning, that might have answered some of that. But if you want to add on to here, that'd be great.
Okay, so the B-58, it is something that I had always been fascinated by as a teenage modeler. Although I have to admit, just a side story, I sort of broke away from modeling in my 20s and late 30s for other reasons. But like I said, I'm coming back to my roots now. So the B-58 is something that when I first got the artillery kit in 172, and I guess that's among one of the 2 kits available in the market, right? If I'm not mistaken. So the B-58 is something that is really endearing to me. I like it very much. The shape, the history, although it was short-lived. So yeah, I very much liked to bring the B-58 into a diecast reality, knowing full well that it is not exactly plain, but neither is it huge. No. So if the SR-71 is made, so the B-58 can fit into the genre.
Absolutely.
But the essence of the B-58 has to be the finishing. And I'm seriously exploring how we can finish it up with bare metal, polished with different shades. That is something that's really important, because we don't want something that's just sprayed with matte silver. It's got to be looking like the real thing. So yeah, we are developing it. We are seriously looking into lots of references to make sure that we get it as close to the real thing as possible. There is obviously some aspects that we can't see on the real aircraft, not available online that we can find. So we have to extrapolate at some point. But yeah, we will definitely put our best foot forward to make sure that the Hustler, when it comes into play, that it is as respectable as our F-16 and as our F-14s. Yeah.
There's going to be some diecast. Are there any survivors of B-58 Hustlers in the world you could look at sort of up close? Because there's certainly nothing this side of the Atlantic, that's for sure.
There is, I think there's one in the museum in the US.
Is it Dayton?
Yeah.
It's probably at the USAF Museum, yeah. That's mate.
Yeah,
That
not too sure.
It's going to look good. But obviously a lot of work to do for you, a lot of sleepless nights.
Yeah, because yeah.
Cool. Right, so on to Dan Smith, who's obviously he's a big contributor in the sort of diecast world. I know he does a lot. I believe he's Canadian, but he's always sharing obviously new releases and stuff like that. He's asked, will we see some old-fashioned Soviet camo schemes on the Su-17 and 22?
Most definitely. Send me the artwork and I'll work on it.
There you go, Dan. That's one for Dan. I'm sure he's probably got a list. He's probably got a pile as long as this deep to send you. He's also asked, is there a possibility of doing F-5A Freedom Fighter in the future? You just put, obviously, Falcon Wings were in the process of doing that before they went out of business. So is that one that possibly might be on the agenda?
Well, the F5, I would say, is something that, as a child, I first saw because the Singapore RSAF, the Singapore Air Force, has the F5 as its mainstay fighter after the Hawker Hunter, right? So I saw most of the F5 back as a little boy before the F-16 came along. So yeah, there is some connection for the F5, but it is not a priority, unfortunately. No. It's not a priority for us.
No, that's cool. Yeah. It's got to start somewhere, isn't it? And,
correct.
With obviously Vietnam, whatnot as well. There's lots of opportunities for different schemes and whatnot. It'd be good. That'd be good. I mean, but again, you've answered the question that it's actually something you thought about, which is great. On to Dan, who helps run my page, Dan Maber.
Okay.
Will you be replicating the new aircraft from the Top Gun Maverick film?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Because Top Gun Maverick primarily uses the F-18 Super Hornet, and we don't have the tooling for that. I believe that there will be a short cameo of a Tomcat. So we are focused on our, TP-02, 03, and 04. So that should be some respite.
Well, there's lots of mileage in the Tomcat because it's a magnificent looking aircraft. I remember seeing it when I was a kid at something you used to call Air Fate, which is at RF Mildenhall in Suffolk. And I remember seeing it as a kid after you'd watched Top Gun and just wide-eyed, just looking at the sky and just going, I want to do that. That was one of the reasons why I loved aviation as a kid. And that was actually drummed in really from my dad, being an RAF weapons engineer. I was sort of brought up as like, you will be in the RAF, and it weren't for the fact that I failed the medical. I probably would have at some point, but it's one of those aircraft that it just, like I said, it's just a shame that there isn't one or two that's available to still fly nowadays. But hopefully, a little further down the line, when it's out of service with the Iranian Air Force, we might be able to see something in America if they relax it a little bit. But fingers crossed. I mean, you never know, do you? I mean, it's such a beautiful plane. It deserves to be in the sky, doesn't it?
Yeah, Mark, you're actually very fortunate to see the real thing in life because I had never had a chance to see it. Even back then when Top Gun was released, I was never I didn't really see it when it first came out. I'm sort of a late developer. I believe was it 89 or 86? Top Gun's 86, right?
1986.
86, right. So right. So yeah, back in 86, I guess I was 10 years old? 10 years old?
Yeah.
I guess.
I was 6.
Yeah, so no, I haven't really had a chance to watch it back then as a kid. So my first movie that I remember was actually the 1989 Batman. So I have a bit of connection with that. So I managed to see Top Gun later in my years, and yeah, so different strokes,
Absolutely. So another question from a man you probably know is Paul Abbott, who spent a bit of time out in Japan last.
Hi, Paul.
You know Paul? Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's asked. He's a massive Phantom fan. So he's asked, would you consider doing an RAF Phantom similar to that which Gemini Jets did? They're highly desirable and still sell for great prices on the second-hand market, i.e. eBay.
Okay, the Phantom. I've built, well, I've not built that many model kits in my lifetime, but I have built a few, and the Phantom is one of them that I've built. The Phantom that I built actually came in third prize in my very first plastic modeling competition when I was, I guess, 14 years old, 13, 14 years old. And it was an F4G, Wild Weasel. So yeah, there is some understanding between myself and the F4, although I'm totally confused and overwhelmed by the many variants that they have. The CDs, the S, the British Phantoms, the EJs,
different engines,
you name it. So it's going to be a very difficult decision to decide which tooling that we're going to go for, because it's not exactly just swapping something. The whole nose is different. The whole, there's just so much differences. And currently there is some demand for Japanese Phantoms, because I guess they just look so well colored by the Japanese.
Beautiful schemes, yeah.
Right. So yeah. So getting back to the question, I do want to explore the subject, but I'm still undecided on to which exact version I would actually pull the trigger on.
Yeah. RAF. A green and grey Phantom is nothing more beautiful. Well, saying that, a Royal Navy Phantom, I know Corgi had just released the 148 one, and they did a decent job, with the exception of some of a lot of criticism around not having an open canopy and the cockpit and stuff like that. But it was lovely. It's a beautiful scheme. And I know it's got the longer leg at the front. But yeah, RAF Phantom. Look into your eyes, don't look around your eyes.
Okay.
Yeah, an RAF Phantom in green and grey is beautiful. And yeah, moving swiftly on before I try and convince you into making a Phantom. Chris Lawless, okay. I'm sure you know Chris, from the Diecast Aviation page over on Facebook.
Ah, yes.
He's asked, and I'll put it in his words, when will the sexy fitter be out, and what schemes do you have proposed for it?
Okay, so the fitter, it's undergoing final refinements on tooling. There are still some parts where, there's a bit of a ding here and there on the mold, so it doesn't come out right. There's a bit of too much of a gap. So those are the fine tuning. But on the overall, we aim to have it out again by Christmas. The first scheme, as I promised, ex-German pilot who has helped me a little bit on the development, would be a German scheme. So he actually has a fitter parked in his garage. Yeah. So I've been trying to actually find the opportunity to go over to Germany to see the fitter myself. But of course, we can't do that right now. So that would be a shame. But yeah, I'm gonna make it a point to see it one day. So yeah, so the first scheme would be a German scheme, and I'm actually still open for any suggestions, I guess, for the second fitter. Yeah.
There you go, guys. Opportunity to visit the website and ping a few images over to Noel.
Yeah.
Absolutely, cool. So, right, we're on to the Instagram questions now. So, thanks for answering all the Facebook stuff. And I learned a lot out of that already. A few bombshells dropped in that one, Noel. So, first one comes from Eddie Perez 3. And I know the answer to this, but it'd be good for you to tell, Eddie. Where can I buy these planes in Mexico? So, where can you buy your aircraft in Mexico?
See, the thing, we don't really have a reselling partner in Mexico. But I guess you can contact the Flying Mule in the States. Wouldn't that be easier to bring it down from
I
US?
guess it probably would. Fly Mule ship
Yeah,
everywhere. Fantastic business, aren't they?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, obviously, I guess there's distributors sort of in South. Have you got anything in South America or Central America at all, like distribution wise? Is it
No,
more
actually
sort of
no.
northern? So yeah,
You
probably have to
see,
trip.
having been in this business for a while, you sort of figure out exactly who the players are. It's not something
Absolutely.
whereby we're still digging for who is in South Africa, who is in South Korea, or it's we know the players. So and it's a niche market. It's not something that is as big as your blockbuster Marvel movies, right? So
No,
it's a niche
absolutely.
market, and I guess, but it's a growing market. I feel it's a growing market. That's why I came
Big
into
time.
this. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. No, thanks for that, mate. Right, so I've got a lot, and I know he's watching at the moment. It's called Diecast F14 Photography. So I think you
Oh,
connect quite
okay.
well with this guy. Will there be
Nice
a Ghost
photos,
Rider
excellent photos. Yeah.
F14? Yeah. Will there be a Ghost Rider F14? Did that
We've
come
already
through
done
okay?
2 Ghost Riders.
There you go.
We've done 2 Ghost Riders. Yeah.
So, but do you think you'll be able to get those? You can't get them off the shop as such now. It'll have to be the second-hand market, I guess, yeah?
Well, the previous Ghost Rider that sold out. The current
Yep.
Ghost Rider we have in stock, so I guess still available.
I'll link up the web page on the bottom of this when I publish a video. So if I know he's just watching now, he's just commented. So I'll link it on there. You can click on there and have a look there. But I don't know what country he's from. So I know Jumblies obviously stock your products over in the UK, and I believe Flying Tigers do as well, don't they?
Okay.
Yeah. So they're two good. They're two good places to get it. He's also asked a couple more questions. You can tell he's definitely a keen F14 fan. Could you make a flight deck crew which would look great with the models? I know you've done lots of accessories in terms of weapons.
So yes, we will, and we are working on it right now because having the setup is the next phase of displaying your diecast, right? So we have already been working on tow trucks, and the ground crew will come in pretty soon. We just need time to sculpt the figures. As you can see, we have previously just sculpted new pilots for the F-16s. So it takes time to develop all these figures. Yeah, it takes time.
I have to say those pilots are most definitely the most realistic pilots I've seen in any diecast form. They look fantastic, and to get that much detail on a 172 pilot, which is this big, is pretty decent. And be interesting to see how you do that mass production, though. Noel. That must be quite time consuming.
Right. Well, the essence of a nice looking figure is in the sculpt. So we do not cut any corners, even if it's small. We sculpt it in such a way whereby when you blow it up, you can still see the details. So when you shrink it down, you can definitely see the details. So that's the way we approach it. We don't just make a little blob, because that's not what it is. The pilot has a profile. They have creases on their uniforms, the flight suits. So we do our best to incorporate all those features so that when you shrink it down, it's all there.
No, they look great, mate. He's also asked one more question. He said, any chance of a final countdown, Jolly Rogers?
Yeah, why not? Every chance. There's every chance.
Do it as a twin set with some zeros.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's a new mold then, new tooling.
Right, so on to the next question. This is from Sammy P36. And I think you've already mentioned it as well, but what was your first model you made? And you spoke about that earlier in the conversation. But
right.
What is your favourite model? Whether it be something you've produced through Calibre Wings or something you've made at home. What's the one that makes you look at it and go, yeah, I've nailed that?
Well, I haven't really nailed anything, to be honest.
I wouldn't.
There's always
Look, I wouldn't shoot yourself down like that. But what's the one that you look at and go, yeah, that's it. That is, whether it be something you've made at home or whether it's something you've made with Calibre.
I guess when I applied the weathering effects on the models for certain customers, I feel that every time I make another one, it's always getting better than the previous. So that gives me satisfaction when I apply those added weathering. Personally, when I built models, I think I made a pretty decent job of a very simple Italere F-16 mold. So Italere is known for its very simple mold, right? It's not really detailed.
Yeah.
But back in the day, and this was probably when I was 16, I made my own scratch built radome with the nose open and the exposed Vulcan cannon and the little pilot helmet with the hose on the fuel tank. I will find that picture one day and I'll put it up to show what I mean. So that, I guess, is the most fulfilling piece that I did. Yeah.
It's a good bit of detail there, mate. So that sort of answers the next question, because I think I know the answer to this, but Will Carts 57 asked the question, what is your favourite plane? And I think I've got an idea of what aircraft it is.
Make a guess.
It's not the Spitfire, is it? No. I'm gonna go the Tomcat.
The what? The Tomcat?
Well,
actually,
Tomcat.
as much as I like the F-14, my original love is the F-16.
Okay.
That's my yeah. It is because I find that it's really small and agile. You know, it takes on a very nice shape, both dead front, you know, on the banking angle. It's just fantastic. It's a very versatile dogfighter that I was exposed to back in the day. So as much as the F-14 is beautiful, and believe me, it is beautiful, right? I'm wearing it right now, and the first model that I make is an F-14. But the F-16 is my personal favorite. Yeah.
And obviously, in terms of the F-16, a lot of the European countries put them in some absolutely stunning schemes. And I've just seen the US Air Force, I think it's a Venom scheme, isn't it, this year? And that looks very, very nice. Must be difficult to replicate in sort of paint in 172 scale. But, I mean, if you can pull it off, then you're onto a winner there.
Well, I guess with recent examples of releases, we can see that the F-16 can be produced with very fanciful markings. So we will go about to do it properly. Yeah.
Fantastic. So Dwayne the Rebel, he's often frequent on the Instagram page, he's asked, what are the future? You've obviously covered future releases, so I won't ask you that again. But can we get a Sidra Cat? I guess that's the Golfer Sidra Cat. Did that come through?
No.
Okay.
A Sidra's cat?
A Sidra, Golfer Sidra Tomcat.
Oh, Gulf of Syria. Okay. Yeah, but of course, yeah, sure.
Golfer, that'd be quite a popular one. So on to another one. I've got I think his name is Lat Brake, or we spelt that way anyhow. Could you make an Su-30M? Was that something you've looked to consider?
If I were to do something Soviet again, or the next one, the fulcrum gets my attention any day and twice on Sunday over the flanker.
Absolutely. Big old dirty beast.
Yeah, but the flanker is magnificent, no doubt about that.
Nice. It's a
But
serious
again, you
difference
know,
in size as
yeah,
well. The
very
size difference
serious
between
difference in
29
size.
and the
Yeah,
flanker is huge. I didn't
yeah.
realise. I think it's the Russian Star. Do the Russian Stars fly an SU-30?
Um, Russian Stars SU-30, Russian Stars as in the
The
Stragi,
slave
right?
thing. Yeah.
Not too sure about that. I don't think so.
No, I'm not too
Not too
sure
sure
what.
about that. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
lost on Russians when it comes to Sukhois. I'm absolutely lost on the numbers and stuff like that. They all look the same because I'm
Right.
more of a props man myself. But no, I mean they're serious lumps of aircraft, and you know, obviously they're magnificent as well. But no, it's interesting to see that you'd look at a Fulcrum. A Fulcrum is just classic, isn't it?
Well, because the Fulcrum is the direct competitor to the F-16.
Absolutely.
So what I
Sort of
love,
that tail end of Cold War.
yeah. So what I love, I tend to love the opposing as well. So, yeah.
Cool. Right, so I've left a couple of questions for myself to ask at the end.
Okay.
This is probably something that with Diecast, there's two different types of fans. There's the ones who are happy to get an aircraft, and then there's the one who will pull something apart. And obviously, I know you are absolutely passionate about the brand, and I know you go in and you look at, you know, if we look at the Fencer, for example, you looked at changing that after the first release and listening to what people had to say. But there's two different types. There's the ones who, like I said, who will be happy and quite happy, and then there's the ones what we call the river counters. So to talk about a bit of perspective to it all, I think it'd be good if you could sort of talk through the whole process from designing to tooling to releasing, but also sort of one of the questions I've always wanted to know, in order to make a new model, so a new type of model, so like the F-16, for example, how much does the tooling originally cost to set it up? And what sort of longevity do you get out of that tooling in order to release further releases? So it's a bit of an open question, really. So, you know, people are quick to criticise, and it really drives me crazy. And now sometimes there's basic mistakes, but you've got to feed that back. And you know, hopefully at the pre-production stage, you see that it sort of leaks out, and people then feed it back. So I'll give an example about a new Tornado that's coming out onto the market. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's very wrong in quite a lot of aspects. But it hasn't been changed, and now people are throwing their toys at the brand. So I've sort of lost my way a little bit now with the question, because I'm really passionate about it, and like I said, it irritates me to the absolute core, because we're all in this hobby together, and we want successful brands for us to go out and keep buying those models year after year after year. So, could you talk through the whole process and what sort of cost you get out of a tooling and how long you could sort of use it for? That was the question. Sorry, going off on the tangent.
Okay.
Did that come through?
All right. So let me start by saying that it is the rivet counters that helps us improve, because they know their stuff, and they are apparently the masters of the field, which basically means that they study the subject. It's something that's passionate for them. You know, so when they see a replication of a model, and they see what's right and what's wrong, they can point it out, right? So they are the, I guess, how should I put it? They set the bar, actually. So those guys set the bar. But at the same time, I guess they should be, I guess, a little bit empathetic. That certain things perhaps are not done a certain way, not because the manufacturer refused to listen, but rather there are underlying reasons for making those decisions. Let me give you an example of the infamous glove vanes on the F-14B from Calibre Wings. So when I started out making the model, I have no idea that later cats do not have the glove vanes. To me, as a F-14 fan, I always knew the F-14 to have glove vanes. And like I said before, I had actually left the hobby for a bit of a time, a hiatus. And then I just got back. So the developments of the Bs and Ds were not as clear to me when I knew that only the engines and the ejection seats and of course avionics were the differences. But apparently the glove vane, something that really stood out was a major difference. So okay, we had the mistake of the first B with the glove vanes we shouldn't have. But then again, we had to replicate that mistake again with our recent release of the F-14D, simply because we had to put something out. And my decision then was to put a twin Tomcatter out. We had injected so many parts of the Ds in our tooling that if we don't use them, it's going to waste. See? So that's one example of why the recent F-14D still had the glove vanes, because although I told myself I'm going to not do any more Ds until I sort out the glove vane, but I have so many parts lying around that I got to make some use of it.
Absolutely.
Which is why I actually did the Macross Robotech models, whereby in that genre, people are not too concerned about glove or no glove vanes. So that was being done over there to minimize wastage and maximize the use of the parts. So that's that.
Oh, okay.
All right. So that's that. But yeah, I think if information is given to the manufacturer in advance, there's always chance for improving the model, because I guess that's the ultimate goal. We want to put something out that collectors will treasure because it's accurate, it's done properly. But then again, there's a whole host of people that have no idea what the hell glove vanes are, right? So where do we draw the line? Where do we put the balance? So that's something
cost
that
concern, isn't it? At the end of the day, you're a business as well. You can't to change something that's going to cost you thousands of pounds for very little. What percentage of people who own the aircraft actually either recognise that or moan about that? It's probably very little. But also, you want to make sure you're listening to your customer as well.
Right.
And it's good to see some understanding behind some of that.
Right. So, as you said, although people don't see it or don't know it, doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. Because the whole essence of making the model is to make sure it's accurate. And sometimes because we are wary about the people who may not be as knowledgeable, it makes us a little bit scared as well. Because, for example, we have people asking us, are we missing printing the anti-skid on the VF1 Wolfpack because it's only on one side? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it is only on one side, but people think that we forgot to print the other side. So where do we draw the line? If we print it on both sides to make sure that we have no problems, then we get the complaints that why are you printing on both sides when it's only on one side? See, so we make it as accurate as possible, and then we deal with the aftermath. If people don't understand, they come back to us. We'll explain it, and that's part of the learning. Yeah.
And so talking about that, oh sorry, just to sort of interject, Corgi released a Neville Duke P40, and on the fuselage there was a blue blob towards the tail on the desert camo, and they received a number of complaints from people moaning about this blue. It's a painting issue. It's not been painted yet, but it was absolutely 100% accurate to the real aircraft. So that's where it's that fine line. It's that fine line. Getting a product that's looking absolutely ace but accurate, and again, it's like being a politician. You can't please everybody all the time. It's just not possible.
Right. So So getting back to the question, to answer it completely, you know, the cost of tooling varies, so there is no one answer for it. It varies with different sizes of aircraft with different parts, different interchangeable variants. So that's something that is totally reliant on the subject. So that answers the tooling question. And how do we actually start to make a model? We usually start from the heart. So if I find something that is close to me that I think I can do well, then I will investigate into doing it. I won't just do something whereby it's popular and it makes some money and then I'll just go into it, because if I have no idea what I'm doing, I'm not going to do a good job. So that's where
absolutely
we consider, you know, the
it's a really interesting thing to hear, because it's your baby. You like I said, you're at the heart of it. It's your baby. It's everything. When that model comes out, I know you get really passionate about it, because I've seen you obviously in terms of your customer service and listening to people. You want to get in there and answer and explain yourself, and I think that's really good. And it's something that a lot of I've touched on it before. That a lot of die-cast manufacturers could do, is having someone who automatically communicates with the customer, whether it be on a live forum like this, or whether it be Facebook, or whether it be by email, and just letting them know what's going on. I think that's really, really key. And I've added, you know, I know you was very kind to send me one of the original Ukrainian fences, which I did a video review on. And I didn't realise what a can of worms I'd opened by just not totally straightening out a pit tube. And I know I've apologised to you in the past about that, and I thought, oh my God. But 99% of the people are like, what a fantastic tooling, what a beautiful aircraft. You know, it's a new sort of, you know, it's a step forward in die-cast aircraft. And because of one little bit, there's like a couple of people just zoomed in on this one little bit. But then what you did is you went out and you looked at, you changed that one little bit. So it, you know, not many manufacturers would do that. And I think that's kudos to you and the Calibre Wings team in terms of what you're doing in the die-cast world. So not to blow too much smoke up your bum, of course, there, Noel.
Right. Regarding the pitot tube of the fencer, so the thinking process is such. We felt that it doesn't need to be metal. If it's die-cast metal from the die casting, it wouldn't be as accurate, because there's no way we can churn out all those little details with a die cast. That's the first thing. If it was done in plastic, it's going to break, right? So it's thin, so it's going to break. So what's the next best thing? PVC, soft material. So when we injected soft material, there is a different level of hardness to achieve. You can get it really soft and flaccid, or you can get a bit of a 90 degree, they call it a 90 degree hardness, but it's still soft.
Yeah.
Apparently, I was let down by the fact that the factory didn't choose those parts that came out pre-deformed. This is another thing that involves the manufacturing process, whereby something's injected. If it's not injected properly in terms of tuning the temperature, the pressure of the injection, things doesn't turn out right. So you can have 1,000 injections, maybe you get 500 that's really good, and you get 500 that's not good. So you got to do another injection of 1,000 to get the 500 good and make up the full 1,000. But if you cut some corners and just use whatever that you have injected and put it in, that's when you get the bent pitot. Because when I inspected the pitot tubes, they were fine. It does hold its shape for what it is, to be straight, and it doesn't break, and it's safe. So that actually was a consideration for me when I decided to use the soft material for the pitot tube. But having said that, since the new method of turning out the metal rod plus an injected plastic, so there's actually now 3 sections to the pitot tube. So that looks nice, then we just go with that. That's it. Case closed. Yeah.
No, brilliant. Look, I think that,
Yeah.
I mean, that was the last question I was going to ask you. I think to sort of, just to sum it up really, I think what does the future hold for Calibre Wings?
Well, it depends because I'm currently 42 years old. So how long can I
Young
keep
man,
on?
Noel.
Yeah. And if it takes 2 years for us to develop a new aircraft, you can probably do the math to see how many we can tackle before we call it a day, right? So yeah, I am definitely gonna not keep at this pace, but rather I'm gonna increase the pace with some acceleration of the production and new R&D. So you will expect to see firstly a range of accessories that will help you display your model in a diorama form that tells a story. So things like tow bars, tow cars, and down to nitty gritties, even missile stands to display the missiles, right? They have that in the actual
Fantastic.
airfield, right? So they have that. And of course, finally, the little crew, right? If you can have a guy who's actually pulling the tow chains, or brushing up the aircraft, things like that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Happy day. Look, I know obviously it's late in the day over in China, in terms of you need to get some sleep at some point. Look, first of all, mate, thank you so much for doing this. Look, really, really appreciate it. I'm sure everybody who's watched, there's been lots and lots of people watching, and I'll share it on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well. But look, no, I really appreciate you taking your time to talk through. And I've seen a few people comment on there who didn't know what Calibre Wings were about, and hopefully it sort of raises a little bit of brand awareness for you guys and gets your aircraft out there, because I know that at the moment what you're producing is just straight out the door. People are loving what you're producing, and hearing what you've suggested further on in the video, then it's exciting times. But look, thank you so much, mate. I really, really appreciate you taking your time. And look, you can get yourself some sleep now and then go out for another early walk first thing in the morning.
Thank you very much for having me, Mark. Yeah, I appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much, mate. And maybe it's something, maybe further down the line, though, you do your YouTube videos, which I'll share your channel. But if you want to sort of do something like this again in a shorter format in terms of showing off some of the new releases, then it might be beneficial to you as well. I'm more than happy to do that. But no, thank you so much, mate. Really, really appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. Have a good one.
Right, thanks for watching, guys. Like I said, I'm going to share this now on the page. Thanks to Noel Lee over at Calibre. Hope you've enjoyed yourself. I know I certainly have. And thanks again. Speak to you soon. Cheers, Noel. Take care.
Yeah, thank you.